Hi, many of us are using GenAI to great effect within our genealogical research. But there's a thing within GenAI called deep research that not many of us know about. And you need a paid version, typically $20 a month, to look at what deep research is. And you can see here on this ChatGPT interface, underneath tools, is run deep research. So what exactly is deep research, and how can we genealogists use it to great effect? Well, let me just pop over and we can talk about what normal GenAI is. First of all, it's a superficial research. It doesn't go very deep. It's conversational. So typically it's ask, respond. I'll ask it a question, I'll respond, and I can redirect that conversation as I need it to. So as the picture implies, it's a conversation between me and the GenAI system. Whereas agentic deep research, we're giving the system agency. We're basically giving it a mission. It will go off and do multi-step reasoning based on a mission that we give it. And it'll be a research mission. And basically it's agentic, i.e. we give the AI system agency to make its own decisions, to go and search where it wants to. And based on the searches, come back with various conclusions and really initiate new searches. So instead of having conversation, is now a team of assistants that will go off and do your research for you. It will be extensive research and it will be a linear conversation. In other words, it will be very brief. It will go off based on the conversation and it will bring you typically back a 15-page report. So this really is deep research. So how as a genealogist, how will we use it? Well, first of all, it can only access public information. And we'll use it for the why and the how, but not for the who. So if we're looking at research, I will not be looking at a specific ancestor. It may help, but it's typically about the background, the why and the how, and we'll see this in the research that we show. It still may hallucinate. We tend to find that deep research is a little bit more reliable than linear research, but it still has some of the same problems as GenAI. So I call this research augmentation. So we'll get an assisted document back. It'd be something, if we was paying for a genealogist to do this, cost us thousands and thousands of dollars. So we're looking at social history and we're looking at background for brick walls. So let me look at some examples of where we could use it as genealogists. One would be to look at social and local history, to understand the historical context somewhere, what the religious and political ethnic conflicts were, or backgrounds or racism that was going on that our ancestors had to deal with. What were the cultural norms that shaped their behavior? Why did they move around? What was they doing? What were they thinking at that time? So really, really good at social and local history. Same with surnames and identity. We can do some deep research on the background of surnames, or last names if you like, and why did these names change over patterns? What were the naming conventions that tied these names together? We can look at occupations in daily life, and that's one of the examples I'll show you. There's absolutely brilliant deep research in looking at specific occupations. So what are the common jobs in a town? What were the working conditions like, and why did people move around? And maybe even gender roles based in when did women start working, when did children start working, and what kind of careers or guilds did people join within those occupations. Another key area is migration and settlement. Why did people leave? People tend to block leave regions. Where did they go? How did they get there? How did our ancestors get from Europe to the US in the 1700s? What were the chain migration? Did families do that? And how did land access and homesteading affect these migrations? And a lot about community networks. So deep research will really help us look at the fans, friends, associates, and neighbours, and look at social hubs. How did churches in the UK differ from churches in France, for instance? Did the Catholic Church and a Protestant church develop their networks in different ways? And I can then look at a community and start bringing it back together in real time. And then finally, he's really good at helping me mindset a brick wall, putting our heads together and figure out where we can go that will be different. So even if it's just one or two new nuances or new sources that you hadn't thought about, then this will be excellent for your research. And it will explore different reasons that we can do historical what ifs and trace the context that might reveal indirect evidence as well. So those are the ways we could use it as genealogists. And I want to walk through now a case study of one of my relatives, Charles William Beaumont. So what we'll do now is we'll pop back into ChatGPT and we'll go over here, ChatGPT. And I've already got these conversations sorted out. So this is my normal ChatGPT. And what we're going to look at here is what the normal conversation would look like within ChatGPT. And I can say something like, my ancestor worked in the sugar factories in Greenock, Scotland in the 1890s and later moved to Silvertown in London to work in another sugar factory. Why might someone make that move? And now I've got some light research. It came back almost instantaneously. It's good information, not very detailed, pretty high level. And then a summary. So this will be a good start point for me, but really I'd like to really delve a lot deeper into why my relatives and how they worked in sugar factories. So the first thing I need to work on is the prompt. And it's very important that we work on the prompt for deep research before we actually go into deep research. So I can go into my standard ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to help me with the prompt. So here's my prompt again. My ancestor worked in a sugar factory in the 1890s, later moved to Silvertown. Now that was my first prompt. Now I've added, I would like to conduct deep research and learn more about life and why you may have moved. I would like your help to create a new prompt for my deep research. You can ask me questions, ask me one question at a time. That's very important. And now basically what ChatGPT will do is ask me some questions and really start building up a great prompt that I can use in deep research. And so ask me some questions here, and then finally it will give me a prompt that I can use in deep research. Now, this is the kind of prompt that will be fairly difficult for us to come up on our own. We really need GenAI to help us with the prompt for deep research, because deep research uses a lot of computer power. You only get so many to use for each month. You need paid research, and it will go off and do the deep research based on the prompt. It's not a conversation. So this is how we create the prompt for deep research, and say basically we'll cut and paste this prompt and we'll go into deep research. And here we are in deep research. And you can see the deep research is blue here. I'm in a deep research conversation. So I clicked on this and we'll go to the top, very top here. And here's the prompt. I'm researching my ancestor, Charles William Beaumont. You saw me create this prompt within GenAI. And first thing it does within deep research is ask me some more questions, because this is a mission. This is not a conversation. I'm asking GenAI to do some research for me. So it will clarify based on what I've asked it to do. It'll clarify that mission, if you like. And it will ask me 4 questions. I answered the questions, fairly straightforward questions. And then it goes off and does the research. Now, I can't show you this because it takes some time. It took, in this case, 11 minutes. It looked at 30 sources and did 137 searches. Can you imagine how long it would take you to do these searches? And for every search, it analyzes information, and that search leads to another search. And now I've got a 15-page deep research on my ancestor, Charles William Beaumont, and how his journey from Greenock to Silvertown, and it goes into detail where about it. It gives me some images even. And I can't go through this in detail. It's 15 pages long. But it goes to some really obscure, I'd say, I didn't know about sources that I would have never come up with. And it scattered away, and it will go through images again, the health and safety, the pull of Silvertown. So he moved from Greenock to Silvertown. Why would that be a thing happening? Again, what the life was in Silvertown sugar factories are really good. Now, this is an area I've done my own research on, and this research that has come back is really spot on, because I'm not asking I'm not asking to do research. I'm looking for the background. I'm very interested in the social history of my family, not just the family history. And it goes into a lot of detail. Now, it did find some census entries for children that had died in Greenock, which I knew about, but it was very difficult to find. So going through this report, you can see how long it is. It gives some information about how I can get more information beyond this research. Lots and lots of information. And now all the sources that it used. Now, This is where it's hugely beneficial because some of these sources I didn't even know about. So I've got sugar industry, there's all these ones here. The Greenock Telegraph I knew about. Biography, details about Greenock and Silvertown, refineries. Lots and lots of different research. Now that goes way beyond the normal ancestry, find my past, family search. This on its own has really put me on a great new path. And then it found the death of Jane Beaumont was one of Charles Williams' children. I knew about that, but I didn't know it was in the Greenock Telegraph. So anyway, the deep research is just another tool. So we go from the assisted research in Genealogy to research augmentation using deep research. And again, you only get so many different goes at this. It uses a lot of research, so use it carefully, build a prompt. But truly, you will find a huge difference between deep research and standard GenAI conversations. So I hope you found this really useful. Please give me 2 thumbs up and please subscribe. It means a lot to a small genealogy channel like mine. And if you've got any more ideas for videos that I can do, please let me know. And good luck. Let me know in the comments how deep research has helped you. Thanks a lot. Speak to you all soon.